So reputation.
Okay.
You said that the end product is very important, but you also mentioned that the personality is very important.
Yeah.
What is the surest way to lose one's reputation? Which of the two? Or
well, both really. You can lose your reputation if, for example, you're dishonest in terms of dealing with people, whether it's with payment. You know, you pretend that it's a low budget film and yet you've got £50,000 for it, and you pretend it's only £500, and you get people to work for free, and then they discover that you actually got more for it, and that sort of thing.
Does this happen? Has it happened?
I can't really say for certain, but I know people have done it in the past, and maybe that was an extreme example, but where they've maybe favoured certain people on the crew with larger payments, and given other people who've maybe done more work lesser amounts because the others were friends. That kind of dishonesty can ruin a reputation. The other thing is more to do with the acting side, is when you maybe favour some friends for roles, or ask favours of actresses, whether they, there's directors I know who've sort of gone and had meals with loads of actresses, instead of sort of doing proper screen tests and saying we'll call you. There's no need for that nonsense of having meals with people and then feeling obliged. Well, oh God, they paid for the meal, I better give them a part, and that sort of nonsense. That's so important that you remain professional throughout it. When you're dealing with people, that you remain professional. Because then when you meet them in a non-work environment, you'll get that respect. And I've discovered this, that that I've kind of maintained that, whether it's here, whether it's in London, India, Pakistan, wherever I've worked, I've always had that respect, because people know, well, he's always professional. And the other crucial thing is never promise if you can't deliver. A lot of filmmakers have this habit of, yeah, no problem, we can do that. Or people within a film production company will say, or on a set, they'll say, yeah, no problem, I can do that. Can you get that sound? Yeah, I can get it. We're going to do this shot. Can you do that? Oh yeah, I'll do it. And then they can't deliver it, and then it filters back to it, and it ruins the production, because you're depending on that person. But also it happens in pre-production or in the general run of a film company, that if a client phones me up and says, look, we've got a film that we want to do at St James's Hospital, and we need 6 cameras and we need it tomorrow, and we'll pay you 100,000. I shouldn't say to them, yeah, we can do it. Not tomorrow, we can't, because I can't get access to 6 cameras and have a live crew there by tomorrow, so that's very important, that you know your limitations, and that you don't promise, and it's a big weakness. I've seen that in so many people, that they'll say, and I tell trainees this, and I tell them, I'll hear them on the phone, oh yeah, we can do that, I can do that, and because they want to impress. I can do that. Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Then I say, hang on a minute. I sometimes take the phone from them. We can't do that. So stop promising something we can't do. And it's you've got to know your limitations, and then obviously that affects your reputation, because your reputation goes, oh, he's just a empty promises person. And then this kind of thing of drinking with people, creating this elite clique of people. I mean, I know I've got I've got sort of pushed to one side, I suppose, by certain snobs in the industry, who either feel threatened by me, or who either feel that he's too honest, maybe. There's certain sort of hyenas that want to hang out in packs themselves and drink in the sort of bars. Let them. I mean, at the end of the day, I know what my goal is. I want to make films and make better films each time, and I want to educate, to entertain, work with people who need to step up the ladder, new people, work with established people, and that's my goal. And I don't really need to hang out in those sort of parties with these hyenas and slag people off and make these cliquey sort of films. I don't really need it. But I know that, like, even then, if you truthfully ask these people, they can't say anything negative about me because of my reputation, you know. Now, if I'd gone around sort of not paying people and messing people's lives up and sleeping with actresses from 20 years ago, I'd be hiding now, and I maybe have a different face sat here talking to you, because I wouldn't be able to go to the Bite the Mango and sort of stand there and talk to people. They say, oh, that's that guy from 20 years ago who ruined our lives, or who didn't pay us, or who we gave him money, even funders, we gave him money but he never made the film, you know, or he messed up so many people, or he had this ego problem. And that's a big thing as well, you know, this ego that comes with filmmaking, and youngsters especially, who think we're already a Spielberg, we're already a Scorsese. They'll walk around and, you know, everything is a shot, you know. That ego is a big problem, and you've got to be constant throughout this, you know, make better and better films, and try and strive and be honest, and then you'll get that reputation and that track record that, yeah, okay, he's not a Hollywood filmmaker, but he's honest in what he does.
What about when you're in a position to hire someone?
Yeah.
Do you consider their reputation? Are you trying to find out about their reputation?
Well, that's very important.
What aspect of it?
Yeah.
I mean, what would you?
Well, the important thing is, are they reliable? Are they honest? And can they do their job? That's important. I mean, you know, I will talk to other people about them. But the again, like I said before, you can't even depend on other people. If you really, you've got to work with them. You've got to work with that person, and you know, work on a small, no budget problem, even if it's half a day shoot. And I've done that. I've actually said to people, look, I'll tell you what, I may consider you for the bigger project, but we're doing a short film at the weekend. Come along for 2 hours, you know, take over, work, do the camera. You know, they reel off loads of names, and I've used the Z1, I've used the Sony PD whatever, and I've used the Panasonic cameras, and I've used 35. All right, do it. Now they may be able to use it, but are they taking 6 hours setting up that shot? You know, that's something you've got to look at. They may have worked with a director who can tolerate that, but I can't. You know, every person's different, and you know, there's a certain working method, and without compromising quality, you have to work efficiently and professionally. So you have to look at that sort of thing, and there's certain people I won't work with. Others will work with them. In fact, they'll employ me to work with on their films, but I won't work with them.
What kind of people are they? Like,
well,
why
people
wouldn't you work with them?
Well, people who treat other people in a specific sort of way. It's happened recently. I've gone and worked on a film where this producer hired me to work on their film, but I wouldn't hire them to work on mine because of the way they treat other people. You know, they'll have this obnoxious attitude towards everybody on the crew just because they're in a position of power. You know, it's giving them a buzz.
You work for them? Yeah,
I'll work for them because they respect me, they respect my reputation. I'll deliver the job that I've been given, and they know that. And they'll give me the respect because obviously, you know, I'll be a first AD or something, and they know, and they'll give me a lot of respect and treat me nicely, because otherwise they know that, you know, they won't get their film made. But their attitude towards other people on the crew isn't something that I like or I abide, and I just think, you know, it's something that you don't really need. You'll still get the film made without that kind of arrogance and attitude. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who've got that, but I can't stand it. You know, in fact, if I detect anybody in my crew who's got an attitude, I get rid of them. You know, so if they've slipped through the net, because I've got a very strong Raza radar, they call it. You know, if somebody is not right, then I get rid of them.
Mm. Have you refused jobs? Right.
Other people.
Yes. Have you refused jobs when people have called you and
yeah.
said no, and for what reasons?
Well, sometimes, I mean, even on the phone, sometimes I've discovered that somebody has not got the right. For example, if the university phone me up and say, we've got a student who is very hot and he wants a job or a work placement or whatever, and I say, right, okay, I'll take him on placement, because you can always do trial, even when we've offered work on a permanent basis. I said, look, this is a 2-week trial. You might be unemployed, go to the job centre, sign on for a work trial, and we'll take you on for 2 weeks, so that you can see whether we're right for you, and we can see whether you're right for us. Both sides have got to be happy. And then at the end of that, I said, sometimes even after a couple of days, I've said, you know what, you're slowing us down, and you might be alright in another company, but hey, you're talking too much. In fact, there was an editor who begged me for ages and ages, from Manchester, for ages and ages for work. And I said to him, alright, I'm not going to employ you full time, I'll employ you 1 day at a time, and I'll pay you, because if you don't pay people who have a certain CV and who have certain experience, because he had his show, it was very good, I'll pay you. And we negotiated, I think it was something like £75 a day plus expenses, so it came from Manchester, so it was about £85 for his train ticket, which wasn't too bad. And I found that he knew his work, but he had to be pushed by me each time, like, well, can we get on and do the next edit then, please, because he's talking to everybody. It's like, well, and once he did it, he could do it, and then 2 minutes later he'd stop again, and he's telling people about his life in Australia or something, and he's like, well, hang on, this is not what I've hired you for. By all means, work for an hour and then stop and whatever, but every edit you're telling me, and I told him, I said, look, can you just concentrate? And so I got everybody out of the room, all the other people. It's like work on your own. And I come back to him and he's surfing on the internet. It's like, so that we paid him, and we said, I made sure I got my value for money out, because I sat with him and said, right, do these and these edits, but it took me away from what I was doing, but he'll not work for us again. So
what about when someone's called you and asked you to work on their film? Have you turned this down?
I have sometimes. I mean, last year I turned down a sort of good project, which I wanted to be first AD on this. Again, it's to do with reputation, I suppose it boils down to that. Because this director, I'd worked with him before. He had a very good cast. There's some people from very big actors from India, and my first experience of working with him was I was carrying more of the film than I needed to. There's a bigger burden placed on me, and I didn't really need it. The money wasn't that great, so if the money's not great, you want to feel for the project or the guy who's directing, and then also you've got to see a bit of competence from their side. That's so crucial as well. I think that's why probably people like working with me, because they see that I'm competent and efficient. But if you walk into a situation and you're the first AD or even another member of the crew, and you find that everybody else is kind of still in first gear, and they expect you to drive the film along in fourth gear or fifth gear, you can only do it for so long, and then after that you think, well, hang on, I'm going to go to neutral, sod them, sort of thing. And before I do that, I'd rather just say to them, look, I'm sorry, get somebody else. You've all got to get to speed, and I'll warn them a couple of times, and after that I'll say, well, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. It's unfair that I'm carrying all the burden. You still expect a film at the end of it, but the rest of you just sat around doing nothing. And I've got to take the lights down, re-rig, put the camera in the van, make sure all the drivers are there, and you guys are just sat around doing nothing. And the fact the people who are supposed to do it are just sat around doing nothing. So last year there was this incident where and also other work came up that I preferred, but I could have maybe wangled my calendar a little bit and done some, but I said, I'm sorry, I'll find you other people perhaps who might want to work here. But then you're scared as well. You don't want to recommend somebody else, and then they'll say to you, oh, "Hang on, that guy you sent was right, so and so, incompetent." And we don't. Why the heck did you recommend us? So I thought about that, and I thought, no, I'm not going to recommend anybody. It's up to. But then sometimes I'll say, look, I've got a couple of names. This is their telephone. Talk to them, call them down, speak to them. It's your responsibility. You call them, and then they can make their own decisions. But then other times I've just said, no, I'm not recommending anybody, because the two parties would have maybe clashed, and I would have got again a bad reputation.
That's what I was going to ask. Would that have been a part of your reputation?
Yeah, it's very important actually that you have a very constant approach to everything, and even recommending people. I'll get calls from people saying, "Oh, can you recommend a good camera person, or can you recommend a good so and so?" And I'll say, and I'll think about the project. So I'll weigh up whether that project has got the right ingredients, and then see if that person that I'm thinking of would fit into that, and would they both work. And if it's something that will benefit this person and it'll benefit the production, then yeah, I'll try and marry them together or introduce them or something. But if either one is in imbalance, then I'll say no, or say find your own.
Yeah. Is reputation very fragile about people? Why are people so cautious?
See, the thing is, people aren't aware of it. When you're dealing, like so we're talking, or I'm dealing with any client or a production or even the crew, you're not really aware that you're doing it for reputation. You're always thinking, I'm doing it for my show, I'm doing it for the money, or I'm doing it for get a step up the ladder or whatever. And you're not really thinking, I'm doing it for my reputation. But in a kind of reputation is an invisible burden, really, that it's always there. You slip up either in a technical capacity or in the way you deal with somebody. If you walk around set joking all the time, that affects your reputation. Well, this guy's just a waste of time. He's just laughing and joking. He's a comedian. He's a clown. And yet you might be great at doing your job, but people don't like that. You have to assess how a crew works, and everybody's different. You might get a set designer who just is totally blinkered, does not want to get involved with anybody. Fantastic at his job, doesn't hurt anybody. Let him get on with it. You don't want to go there and say, all right, I'm going to tell you a few jokes and you've got to laugh at them. That'll affect your reputation. So it's always there, and everybody will mentally make a note: do not employ him next time. So and it's about the next job as well. Always you're in the spotlight all the time when you're working on a film. Even me, I'm working on a film and I'm in the spotlight, and I'm thinking, how many of these people are going to be how many of these people will respect me, will admire me, will appreciate what I'm doing for them, and will maybe recommend me to other people that they want to work with, on the next production. Will they do that? I am aware of it, and I think everybody is to a degree is aware of the next job, but they don't think that I don't think it's what is maybe in the subconscious that the reputation is important. Those things do go hand in hand, and I know I'm aware of it, and then also I'm thinking, oh, I'd like to work with so and so, I'd like to work with him, or I don't want to work with him again, and I want to work with. There was an interesting incident on the film that I did with it's a war film, Wilfred. I was first AD on that, and again this was a film that I'd never ever worked with anybody on that film, apart from the director who I knew for years. I didn't know anybody else, and I was first AD dealing with it. It was quite a good production and good production values, very very well funded film, And my second AD was somebody I'd not ever met. He was a young lad who was at the Directors Guild of Great Britain, and he was working his way up, learning how to be a director, and so he was getting experience on this film, and he's my second AD. And by the end of the film, the great thing is we got job offers, and people said to us, we want you to come as a pair. you know, as a first and a second. And I said, okay. And they said, well, you know, you two are such a great team. I mean, how long have you two been working together? And I said, well, we only met on this production. But that proved that we were seen by the rest of the crew as a team that worked well, a well-oiled partnership that actually delivered, that made everything function. I can't forget his name now, but he knew what I wanted, I knew what he wanted. He never stepped over the mark, and I never abused the fact that he was my number two. And that's important, you know, that you don't abuse people on set, even though you might have a higher position in the hierarchy. You don't abuse them. And he was very and it was great, you know, to actually think that people thought we'd been working together for years, and the fact that we'd only met on that film set. So that was a testament to a good working relationship. Anyway.
To finish with the reputation, sorry, I've got another question.
You like this reputation thing?
I like this. No, do companies build reputation as well? That's a brief one.
Well, I think companies have reputations and have to build on reputations, but they're based on the people who run those companies. So, for example, as say one member of your company is very strong and delivers good projects, high value productions, you write great stuff and it's delivered with all the bells and whistles, that person who's doing this may not be in the limelight, but eventually what will happen is, if the other people try and take credit for something they haven't done within that company, eventually it'll show. And also what will happen is, it's like they're popping their head above the water, and people will see, God, they're ugly, to use an analogy, because they're incompetent. So sometimes in a company it's best to keep somebody who hasn't got a fantastic reputation in doing the public kind of at the face of the project, is to keep them hidden, if you like, and let them just stay in the back office and do the thing that they're good of, and not let them say. For example, that thing that I was going back to, you know they're going to let you down in public. They might make too many promises. They're great, lovely people, but they'll make too many promises. You know, if they're going say if we go to an exhibition or something, somebody comes up to them and say, "Can you make a film on such and such?" They'll say, "Yeah, of course we can." They're doing it for the good of the company, but they don't realise that we can't do it. And that sort of person will ruin your reputation as well as ruining theirs. But I mean, I say that to some of them all the time. Look, I've got a reputation, and I didn't get it by doing what you're doing. You know, I've got a track record, so be careful. And then the company gets that reputation. So if, for example, I mean, a simple thing is, an actor does a performance for you in a video, and you promise them a show reel as well as their payment. Say you send them the payment, and you don't send them the show reel. You ask one of your assistants in the office or whatever to make sure they get the show reel. They forget. The actor's phoning up and saying, "Hang on, I asked for my show reel." They forget again because they think, well, the job is a big deal, or they send them a show reel and it's not good quality. Then the actor keeps hassling for it because he needs it to further his career, and he's done you a favour maybe, or even if he hasn't, it's something you've agreed and promised, and you have to drop everything and get that show reel off in the post, you know. And sometimes when my staff neglected those things, it's upset me, because I'm saying, well, hang on, it's a deal that we made, and we have to get that thing off, and it affects our reputation. And I don't want anybody out there to say, oh, well, you know, because they're not just looking at, say, that individual, they're thinking it's the company. That company, Eyeline Productions, Talking Lens Pictures, they get the job done, but then they don't keep the promises. You know, I've been asking for a show, because actors will hang around, and even if they say it to one other person, it's one person too many. You know, if they say, oh, you know, that company, I've been asking for a show reel for 6 months, and the other person might be somebody you want for your next film, and they say, well, I'm not really working for you, pal. Or they, I mean, I might not say it blatantly, but they might make some excuse that they've got some other production. Because you think, well, okay, they've not sent me the show reel, what else are they not going to do? You know, they might not pay me. So you don't want that reputation, and company reputation is based on the people who are in that company as well.
How do you find work? Like, how do you get funding, and how do clients find you? How do you find clients? Because I understand a part of what you're doing is your own kind of creative work.
Yeah.
And a part of what you work for clients as well.
That's right.
So,
well, thankfully we're quite lucky that we get a lot of recommendations through word of mouth, and people find us on the internet. I mean, the ESB Commission was really funny in how the client found us. They were looking. I think he was looking for something in Afghanistan or something, and I'd done a film on Afghanistan, and so he linked through to who I was, and then eventually found out, oh, he makes films, corporate productions, and the kind of managing director of the company sort of said, oh right, well, let's ask them whether they'll do our videos, and that was kind of a weird way of finding me, and getting that commission. But we've got a website, and also because we've worked with all the councils, we've got a bit of a track record. People can see this sort of show reel. So if Leeds City Council want a certain type of video, we'll do it. Now, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate. The unfortunate thing is that we've tended to do a certain type of video because of my ethnicity. You know, so we used to get roped in to do all the kind of ethnic audience videos. So if there's a video aimed at Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu speaking, then we'd be the company, because obviously in-house we could film it, write it, film it, edit it, without calling in specialists to do that. So that has been a kind of bulk of the work we've done, and it's been good, I suppose, because it brings in money, and it's a niche that we've been able to exploit. But the thing we're sort of established now, so the various council, local authorities, even private companies will use us. But I've also found that we've had some commissions from people who haven't, and you know, they may be filmmakers who haven't got the ability to pull off a big project. So say somebody who's learning to be a camera person might get their uncle who works for Scottish and Newcastle Brewery saying, you know, we want to do a training video, can you do it? Thinking he's been on a media course, so he can whack one out overnight. So he'll think, oh dear, my uncle thinks I can do it, but I can't really. So he'll phone me up and say, look, I've got this project, but I can't really do it. You know, you've got to have a proposal, you've got to have this meeting in a boardroom, face these people, convince them that you're a high-powered filmmaker. They'll check your track record, and this guy hasn't got a track record. Obviously, he's just come out of the film school or uni. So you've got to be able to have that sort of power behind you and that track record to be able to sort of make a project like that. And so we have got a number of commissions that way. Yeah, that's a true story actually. Yeah, that was a true story. Somebody who graduated and it's happened a few times actually. And there was another story where I went to drop some lights off, some redheads that I wanted fixing, and I went to this place in Barnsley or somewhere, and I was dropping out, and the place was closed, and I thought, well, I've come all this way, and for some reason they were late getting there because of the traffic, and I thought, well, I'll leave a card, and I left my card with some lights at the door, and I thought, well, it doesn't matter, I'm not taking them back now. And I left the car there, but they'll come probably, and I couldn't get through to them on the phone. Kept going to the office answering machine, which was obviously closed. There was nobody there. And as I was leaving, there was a guy who said, well, he just said hi to me, and I said, oh, hi. He said, oh, I'm waiting for them as well. And I said, well, okay. And we just got talking. What do you do? Oh, I do this. I make stage lighting. we do stage lighting. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, well, we exchange cards. And then a few weeks later he said, look, I was going to do the stage lighting with this client, and they said they wanted a video making of the performance. So I thought of you, and so we got a commission that way, which was just kind of bizarre as well. But what is important is that when the clients, they don't just take you like that. They say to you, well, what have you done in the past? Send us your showreel. And you've got to kind of send them a showreel that kind of matches what they're looking for. So we have a selection of showreels that we can give people. And then I've got a personal showreel which I can send out to people who want to hire me as a first AD, or films that I've made and for love. So I kind of try and push that as well. So that the corporate work kind of keeps us kind of ticking over, but what it does do is, thankfully, it enables me to employ. I mean, Phil works with us full time, but other people who are part time. Even like the guy who's doing the cabling and stuff for us. So we have to have that in the company, that we have somebody who can do the technical stuff for us, and the corporate works helps us to. Or it helps fund our other passion, the kind of films that we want to make, and we can afford to do this short film next week. Although it's not a kind of low budget, but it still costs. Even tape stock costs money these days. But that'll enable us to try it to different people, and also it'll benefit a few people by doing a project like that, rather than not do. We've got the equipment, rather than keeping it in boxes. Let's go out and shoot something that will benefit a few people as well as yourself.
How are pay rates determined? Are they standard in the industry?
Well, it's become a little bit deregulated recently as far as pay is concerned. I mean, there's on the crewing side, there's BEC 2 rates, which is the union, and equity rates. But on most low-level, low-budget productions, everything's sort of negotiable, and you kind of negotiate rates, fees with your crew, actors, and depending on the kind of budget, you have to be honest with people and say, look, I'm only getting this much for crew, I'm only getting this. So and a good technique I found, which keeps the peace on productions, is to pay all the crew, whether it's a runner or a DP, the same amount. I'll say, right, everybody's getting £100 a week. That was in those days. It still happens these days, actually, on some productions. But I'd rather pay everybody the same amount and pay them something than say, oh, I'll pay expenses. You get £20, you get £30, you get £40.
Yeah, but we're talking about the low budget productions, or
yeah, low budget productions. On the sort of fully funded projects, I'd rather keep the crew small and pay everybody something a decent wage than have a massive big crew and a large crew and get them to and have a very diluted sort of budget, a wage packet, because then you're paying somebody £50 and then there's 100 people there, and I'd rather pay somebody £500 and get the best person than have more bodies on set.
How do people move? I know it's different for the various roles probably, but how do people move from one role into another?
Well, I suppose if you start at the bottom as a runner and stuff, if you've got the ability and you want to move on to the next level, then eventually, I mean, I've had people who say to look, I've been a runner on 10 films and I want to be like a third AD on your film, and then you have to weigh up, well, yeah, all right, and sometimes it's good because they have that passion, they want to succeed, they want to prove to me that they're a good third AD, and it's a step up, so they'll probably be better than somebody who's been a third AD for years, and they'll take less money and maybe do just as good a job. You see, that there's a little formula there. And I'm not saying the third AD who's been doing that for years won't do a good job, but they will do a good job. But if you've got a tight budget, then you might be better off employing somebody who's been a runner for 10 years, on 10 productions, and you can get them for half the price maybe. And will have a passion because they want to succeed, as a third, it'll step up the ladder for them.
Right. So in some respects, it should be initiated by themselves, like by the person who wants to.
Yeah, you have to have that. You know, you have to want to. I mean, I know people who are grips, and they just want to stay grips all their lives. And sometimes, you know, I've worked with people who are grips and they say to me, "Can we do camera on your film?" I said, well, and yeah, all right. Well, maybe you can camera assist this time, and the next time I'll let you do a couple of shots. You know, maybe just of buildings or like a second unit, and I find that it's good. I say, well, all right. And in fact, it has actually happened. There was a guy who was a grip with YTV, and I let him do camera, and it was a bold step on my part, and I just told my camera operator that day not to come, because I believed in this guy. I said, all right, you do these shots today, and he did them. And now when I phoned him, I said, I've got some grip work for you. No, I just want to do camera. So he said, no, I just want to do camera now. So, you know, that's good that it's been a step up the ladder for him, and he wants to get into camera more, and it's benefited him, and that's what it's all about, I suppose. But the passion has to come from them, the desire has to come from them. And you shouldn't really force anybody to do something that they don't want to be doing. They've got to be happy doing what they're doing, and then they'll give you 100%.
But isn't it difficult for someone to change roles? Just like I'm thinking of the example you gave.
Well, yeah,
you still call him for the grip role. That's what I'm thinking. So how do they have to be very firm, saying no, like refuse work?
Yeah, I mean it's okay, because it was low budget. He probably that's why he refused it when he wasn't getting paid much. But you know, if he's got the camera bug now, he has to weigh up. Well, okay, he's offering me 100 quid or 50 quid a day or something. If I go back to doing gripping, then I'm gonna be stuck there for the next 10 years. So maybe I can say no to this, and next week somebody will call me up and say do a camera. And also it's also video camera as opposed to film camera. Film camera is a very specialised sort of game, and it takes time to learn it. But video camera is easier, the operation anyway.
Are there rare skills?
Sorry,
are there rare skills which you find difficult to identify? Is there what is the most difficult thing to get?
I think the most difficult thing is getting a good DP, somebody who can actually give you the image, the atmosphere, the style that you want, and it's got to match your vision, because you know you've got a certain picture in your mind, a certain image. That's how the film will look, and that's how a particular scene will look. Now, you don't want somebody who can just press the record on/off button, or just stick up a couple of lights. You want somebody who thinks like you and visualizes what you have, and takes that written word and makes it into something visual. And so, good DPs who understand what you're trying to do are difficult, and sometimes you say, oh, look, I'll do it myself, but you don't want to be doing that. You know, your job as director is manifold, and you don't want to be tied up with that as well. You just want somebody who translates for you all the time, and that's how I kind of think about filmmaking. It's every department should be that you're translating the director's vision all the time. That's what I want. Go and do it, and they give you hopefully almost what you want. That's the difficult area, I suppose. You know, and sometimes obviously DPs are on video, especially are camera operators as well, which is good. But it's trying to get that partnership right. You know, the DP and lighting. It's very important that you all both work at the same pace. You know, he's not taking ages painting pictures, masterpieces, and they're for his showreel to make it look good, and your film is going over budget, over schedule, just because you got this guy who's in it for himself, and it's about switching gears. I mean, I know that when I go on productions, I'll say, well, all right, this production, I'll evaluate it. Well, all right, it's moving at this pace, and that's fine. I drop into that gear, unless they're actually just lying around and doing nothing. And then, then you've got to think, well, do I stay or do I go? But if they're chugging along nicely, you drop into their speed. You can't go too fast. You can't sort of start overtaking everybody else. You've got to just drop to their speed. And as a first AD, for example, you've got to try and think, okay, that's the speed. Now, it'll stall or stop if I don't keep turning the handle a bit, or turning the key, or putting my foot down on the accelerator. I've got to keep pressing it a little bit, and keep it ticking over, and otherwise it'll just stall if I don't do that. I'm the guy who's in control now. But you can't shoot off, otherwise you can't take the engine and run, and they'll all be left standing.
Where do you learn this? I mean, what you described is kind of very subtle.
Yeah, I think it's a people management thing. You've got to be very diplomatic when you're a first AD, especially, and when you're a filmmaker generally. You've got to know how to work with people, and how you say things, how you can turn negatives into positives, and all those things. I mean, I haven't been to any classes to learn this. It's just something, I suppose, that's in my nature, but also having worked with people, knowing how to get the best out of them, knowing how to talk to them is very important, and assessing situations and problem solving. I mean, I always say to people, we don't have problems, we have solutions. So that's not a problem. Let's find the solution. But it's important that you get the best out of people. I mean, because there is this ego thing. Everybody's trying to outdo everybody else, and you've got to, sometimes I find that the second AD will come to me and say, that director doesn't know what he's doing. What the heck? What is this? And now my job is to kind of just knock that back and not ever let him say that again, because it undermines the whole production. I've got to say, well, look, hang on. He knows what he's doing, otherwise he wouldn't be here. He knows what we're doing. Maybe we don't know what he's doing, but he knows what he's doing. So let's just cut it out. And you do your job, I'll do mine. Let's do the job that we're here for, and that's it. And a lot of the impetuous sort of young ones, they just want to move things on, and they want to ruffle everybody, and it's not necessary. But I suppose I've got, again, going back to that reputation because of that. They know that I don't rub up anybody. I'm firm, and I know what I want to get the film made. I don't care about myself. It's the project that's important. It's the film that's important. And when people see that in you, that you care about the film more than yourself, you're willing to help so and so and so and so, go out your way to do so and so, that helps your reputation. That this person has come on the set and he's left caring for himself behind, and all he cares about now is a film. That really helps you and your reputation, and hopefully people appreciate that and respect that.
Have you ever, last question?
No, it's alright, you carry on. I love talking about myself.
Have you ever thought of doing something else, like changing your career, leaving the industry? Or have you done it temporarily? Well,
the thing is, I've always been, I suppose, ever since I've been reading comics, I've been living, breathing, eating, dreaming, thinking, film. Every walking minute of the day, that's what I do. Sometimes you think, if I was doing this, I'd probably be earning more money. Or there was a spell when when my dad didn't want me to be a filmmaker, and I worked as in business overseas, actually, and in Copenhagen, and I was making money. But I suppose it's useful to have that business background, because it helps me as a filmmaker having an understanding of how profit and loss works, and how you can survive. It's about survival as a filmmaker, and I think it's a business as well as an art. So that has helped. But I think as long as I felt that I've got the ability and the talent and the drive and the passion, I know I will always survive. Maybe not make the mega bucks although that's something I am aiming for at the moment, you know, with our feature film. But I didn't want to get the feature film out until it was ready. And it's going back to my first film. I worked very hard on that short film. I spent almost 6 months preparing for it myself because I wanted to learn every aspect of it. So, and then maybe since then, there's certain roles on a film that I've not done, but having done them on my first film, I know what's involved, and so nobody can pull the wool over my eyes. I hope, because I know how that, you know, even musicians, and they say, well, you know, we can't do that. I said, yeah, we can. Give me the synthesizer and I'll show you how. You know, these are the chords. Yeah, so I'll do the chords. And I went to evening school to learn it simply because I felt that musicians were pulling the wool over my eyes. I mean, I'd done the recorder and stuff at school, so I knew basic notes. But I thought, no, and in the old days, when you film, when you'd finish your film, you had to take it into a studio to do the track laying and do the music for it. And I'd have to sit there and let somebody else twiddle some knobs on a big, massive mixing desk. And I'd think, hang on, I don't understand this. And he could be doing whatever, you know, I want this effect. And when I ask him, he says he can't do it. So then I said, right, that's it. So I went on a course to learn. It was just an evening course or a weekend course or something, just very intensive, 2 days or something, to how to operate the mixing desk in a music studio. But as an artist, as a creative person, you should have a kind of awareness of what you want music-wise. Now the difficulty was playing instruments in the old days. These days, you know, you can just do it on the computer, and that's what we do. I think you have to be complete all-round artist, and why leave the music to somebody else? Okay, but by all means, you can get musicians in, and I do. You know, I'll get musicians and say, look, we want a song for this, this, and this, because obviously I can't sing. But if it's just instrumental music, I'll say, all right, you give me what you, and they'll give me a section of music. I'll say, well, yeah, it's all right, but I'm not happy with this, this, and then I'll put my own version on. I said, now listen to it. And sometimes they get educated. They say, oh, right, now we understand that works better with the visuals. Because they'll just do it as a piece of music, maybe not understanding what it is I want to convey visually, married to that music. And so I had to become an all-round filmmaker, I guess. But you asked me another question.
You haven't been tempted or working, like changing your career? Or
no, it's my life, it's my passion, it's what gives me the buzz. And I don't think of it as work, that's the other thing. You know, I get up every morning and thinking, even if we haven't got a commission or something, I think, oh great, today I can write. You know, I think, great, I've got, like, you know, I work 6 days actually, the rest of the guys work 5. Phil works same as me, 6 or 7 days, but what we do is we say, okay, today it's Saturday, there's going to be nobody around, great, I can write, or I can catch up on maybe reading some scripts or reading other people's work or doing that sort of thing, and you know, it's just a passion, and that keeps you going, and also the crucial thing is always aiming higher the next time, you know. I always criticise myself. I think I should have been in Hollywood by now. But then I think, well, okay, because of me, so many other people have got a lift up and you know, got onto the next step. Well, if I'd gone to Hollywood, we're all at the same level, and maybe I wouldn't have been able to help anybody. You know, that makes me feel good, I think. But it's true. You know, people like Phil, who was actually my student, and I spotted him in class, and I kind of he's living. I won't say he's living. He's a living example of somebody who, somebody at the tutors didn't believe in, but he came on placement with me, and he's got that thing that is so crucial and it's essential, and it's vital in a person. He's got the passion, like me, live, breathe, eat, sleep, film. And he has ability as well. So, you know, I didn't look at his outward appearance. You know, he's been with me 5 years now. So we've been working together. We disagree on things, but creatively we're sort of linked. and we've both got a zany sense of humour, and we believe in what we're doing. And now the thing is, the question would be, well, why is he tagging on? I mean, there's an age difference, and why is he tagging along with me? Well, it's because obviously he's getting what he wants to feed his passion, and also I'm tolerant of his deficiencies, whereas maybe another employer might not be. They might say, well, all right, he's good at this, this, and this, but I can't do that. And so we play to our strengths and weaknesses. You know, I know what my weaknesses are, and I know what his weaknesses are, and so I won't give him a job that I know he won't be able to accomplish. I'll hire somebody else. I will get one of the other guys to do it. So you know, and if you have that passion and you aim higher, you kind of think, well, all right, the next thing is, and you know, it's ultimately, you know, the feature film that's going to win us the BAFTA and the Oscars, you know, and that's what you're aiming at all the time. And thankfully I've got almost there now, and you know, we're ready to shoot within the next sort of 6 months, and hopefully that film will give me satisfaction that, you know, I've reached the kind of place where I wanted to go, and also it will have helped the people who worked with me and the others in this area, because that's what I really ultimately want is this kind of, you know, I say Hollywood film, but it's really here. I want a Yorkshire film industry where which has an output of feature films, you know, a couple of feature films a year, using existing talent, new talent. You know, all these universities are chucking out graduates every year, and the local Yorkshire people, and they're having to go down south or abroad or whatever to look for work, or end up selling vegetables in the market, rather than following a career that they've spent 3 years learning. So that's the goal. If it doesn't happen, you know, then I'll be disappointed, but at least we're aiming there, and we're trying to make a film on 35, feature film that people will be able to watch in the cinemas, and they'll be able to say, yeah, the guy proved it, you know. And the reward for me will be that I'll have used people, even if it's in a trainee capacity or placement capacity, on the film in every department, who can say, yeah, I worked on that film and now I'm ready to do my next thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I was going to ask you about the future, but you you very smoothly linked into that question.
Yeah, the future obviously is make feature films. I suppose I wouldn't say I'm tired of making corporate productions. It's they've been our bread and butter for so long, but I think what I do is I'd probably hand that over to somebody else to take full control of, and I just concentrate on feature films. And I mean, not even television, because I think, you know, television is I don't know, it's cheap filmmaking, I suppose, and people, we're so bombarded with television that I just want to concentrate on you know, making one quality film a year if need be, and covering issues that affect us, you know, issues that affect the make people films that people can relate to and learn something from, and experience and get something out of, and look forward to seeing my next film, because yeah, you know, and if I can be a director who is known for that, then that's all the reward I'll need. You know, if people look forward to my next film, that's the big reward. And obviously financially, if it brings a few pennies in, that'll be useful. I guess that's the future. And the worrying thing is, if I'd been in any other industry, oh God, I'm getting old, but I think good directors like wine, and I've learnt a lot, you know, and I've kind of matured, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. Technically, I think I can I understand every aspect of filmmaking. I know about the distribution, which is a whole different ball game, and went to Cannes this year, and I kind of learned about all the wheeling dealing that goes on there. So I'm ready to launch myself. And some people have asked me actually why. I mean, Anne asked me. I remember, you made your short film 18 years ago, and now you're doing your feature film. And the question would be, well, why has it taken you so long? And it goes back to that thing about reputation and track record. People wouldn't have taken me seriously if I'd done a short film and then done a feature film, and I probably would have made a terrible film, and that's it. I wouldn't have been able to make my second film. It has perhaps taken them a little bit longer, but then you have other commitments in life that you've got to survive, and at that time, having made a short film, I couldn't, although my next film was 42 minutes, I couldn't have made a feature film of the caliber that I'm making now, and spent 2.5 years working on it, on writing the script at that time, because I wouldn't have been able to live. So I had to make this track record. And now, for example, yesterday I got a call from India, from somebody who said, we'll give you the money. They spoke to one of the actresses and they said, we'll give him the money, but who is he? And she said, she phoned me, she sent me a text, they want to know who you are, and they'll give you the money, or the matching funds, the million that we need to shoot it here rather than South Africa. And he said, did I explain that a bit about what we've already got?
I think
okay.
I read something on the website, and I know something from the industry weekend, but it will be helpful if you...
Okay. Well, basically, the situation we're at now with this film called Quick Slip Me a Bride is, it's taken us like 2.5 years for me to write the script. Now, the film council here, I got the letter 2 days ago actually, said it's a very mainstream film, it's high concept, but it's too mainstream, so we can't fund it, which is a bit weird. Surely that's what you want. You want films that are meant for a wide audience as possible. But they said, it's got good humour, whatever, but it's not the kind of thing that we make. So anyway, I had an agent in America who sold the script to a studio, an independent studio, and they agreed to make the film, and I said no, I think I want to direct it, and also it's a Yorkshire film, I don't want to make it over there, so we kind of put that on hold. Then what happened was, a production company in Los Angeles, a producer said, I'll give you £1 million or $2 million, which is £1 million, half the budget, if you can match it with another $1 million. My producer in London said, yeah, I'll get the money from South Africa. So he got South Africans who he's worked with before, and they said, yeah, you come to South Africa and you can make the film. So we were ready to go. But then I thought, hang on a minute, it's a Yorkshire film. Why the heck are we not making that film here? It defeats the object of the exercise, and the money that will be invested in the film the returns will go back abroad, and it defeats my ultimate aim of creating a Yorkshire film industry. The money should be invested here in the region. I should use people from here, whereas if I go to South Africa, I'll be using South African crew and facilities, and the Americans will get all the profits. And okay, I'll get some money, but again, then I'll probably be working with these guys each time I make my next film, so I don't want to do that. So I thought, hey, put the brakes on, let's make the film here. So we've got the $1 million from America, and he said you can make it any way you want, as long as you get the other $1 million. So, hence the stand at the Bite the Mango Festival. And one of the actors, she's from Bradford, I auditioned. She said she's done 2 Bollywood films. You may have seen her actually. She was there with us on 1 or 2 of the days. There was I think she came to one of the screenings. I don't know if you saw the screenings or not. It was Lena's Heavenly Delights was on. I don't know if you saw it, but she was there. Anyway, this actress knows a producer who's or a production company who are investing in crossover films in India, and they phoned up yesterday and said, so she phoned me urgently, this guy's on the line, and I was listening to it, was like a conference call, and she said, And he said, well, who is he? And I said, well, tell them, just Google me. You know, Google me, and you don't even have to go onto IMDb. Just go Google me, and my name will come up in, you know, at least 50 odd links. Now, 20 years ago, I couldn't do that. Well, when the internet didn't exist, but even if they'd gone to the British Film Institute handbook 20 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to see my track record. Whereas now, they can see that. They could look on IMDb, see the films I made, and that gives you a certain kudos and credibility. And then people can take you seriously. You know, not. I mean, I could have said, okay, I could have made those, say, 6 or 7 really good films that I made, you know, in the first 2 years of my life or my career. True, I could have made them, but then I wouldn't have been able to survive. I've had to make the other stuff, but work on the corporate videos to survive, and you know, it's just the way the cookie crumbled. But I feel I'm a lot more confident now as a filmmaker. Maybe you know, Phil says, oh, you know, you've still got a lot of energy, and you've got a lot of stamina on a film set. You know, you last, you know, you stay standing 24 hours, and the rest of us start flagging, and you're still there, and it's because of the passion. I mean, he stands with me, he never drops. If he's had a good night's sleep, he'll stand with me, but it's because of that passion and that buzz that you get, you know, the adrenaline just keeps you going, and it's that passion for making films that keeps you going. And so going back to that thing, the track record is very important to have that, so that people can take you seriously and say, yeah, he's produced good stuff. I mean, going back to Easy Money, I'll just give you this final thing. The tape's running out as well. Easy Money was screened in, where was it screened? I think it was screened in America and at a film festival, and a well-known actor, I saw it there, I can't mention his name for certain reasons, but he saw it at one of the festivals there. He came back to England, and he hired me, or his company did, hired me to work with them, doing some development work for 3 months, which was great. You know, I got paid. So my short film had brought me money and work, and another push up the ladder, you know, indirectly. And